Can you see that? I don't know about you. That's how I want my pizza to look. Hey bakers, Martin here in the studio today, and I'm excited to share with you one of my favorite doughs from our new book, The Book of Pizza. This is our new American. I've got some great toppings, and I've got a recipe right there in the description. Let's make it. All right, so let's do this mix. You know, as always, I'm gonna work on a scale. I'm gonna measure directly into the bowl. It's the most accurate way to work, and pizza, in terms of accuracy, is as important as any bread that you'll ever make. It's important to be accurate with pizza as well. Why is that? If I add too much water, for example, this dough isn't going to bake up nice and crisp the way I want it. And so, I'm maintaining the ratios in the bowl by using my scale. It's a pro tip. It's a tip that everyone should follow. Get a scale and let's make this dough. Starting with my bread flour in the bowl, 367 grams. The reason I'm using bread flour is because, remember, this dough in many ways is sort of like an outgrowth of the New York pizza style. I wanted something that's thin and also crispy. I wanted something that will stretch in a way that sort of leaves you with like a little bit of puff around the edge, and then this beautiful no-dip tip when you recrisp it. Bread flour is going to support those attributes. And then I've got a little bit of whole wheat here. It's 45 grams. If you have another grain that you like, maybe it's spelt or something like that, I think that would work here as well. The idea is that you have a little bit more flavor in that base dough through the introduction of whole grains. It also will support a good fermentation. Remember, whole grains have tons of vitamins and minerals. Yeasts and other bacteria love those things. Next up, I've got 12 grams of fine salt. You know, in general, pizza dough is salted slightly higher than bread, right? So it's higher than 2%. It's even up around 3 in many cases. And then a tiny amount of yeast, just a quarter teaspoon. Remember that after a little bit of sort of bulk fermentation, we're going to divide these doughs, we're going to put them into containers, and then they're going to sit at room temperature for 8 to 10 hours. That's a long time. So the approach here is low and slow. I want to start a small sort of fire of fermentation and let that work its way through the dough during a long period of time, developing a lot of flavor. So stir briefly to combine just to make sure that everything is distributed. With that super small quantity of yeast, I want to make sure that everything is sort of evenly distributed throughout the dry ingredients. So I've got my dry ingredients in, and then I've got some water. So the water amount is 253 grams, and this is not warm water. It's on the cooler side in terms of most bread doughs. And the reason that I'm not using warm water here, again, remember, we're gonna give this dough a nice long, sort of low and slow fermentation. And if I warm the water up too much, the dough is gonna be too active. And so I'm trying to sort of like control fermentation through the use of the water temp, which is 60 to 70 degrees. Also going in here, I've got a little bit of olive oil. That's 1 tablespoon, 12.5 grams. I've got some honey. Honey is gonna support flavor, but also in addition to that, it's gonna support some browning. And this is optional, but I think it's really important if you have a little bit of sourdough culture around, you're gonna wanna use it for this because it's gonna bring in a whole nother level of flavor. It's gonna bring a little bit of brightness, and the dough will eat like really good sourdough bread. It's about 1.5 teaspoons, half a tablespoon. I'm gonna eyeball that, but I know the amount. I've made this so many times now. And let's mix. The dough already smells good. It already looks beautiful. I love the sort of like cafe au lait color of a nice crumb with some whole grains in it. Building blocks of this recipe came out of the New York style. I wanted a large pizza. I wanted a thin, crisp pizza with a beautiful sort of undercarriage and a slightly puffed edge crust. I wanted all of those characteristics. Part of the reason for that was that I think some of the best pizza in America right now is made in these places that really sort of are advancing the tradition of pizza making. And so when I was writing this, I was thinking of that. I was also thinking of, like, in very selfish terms, like, what is the pizza that I want to eat more than any other style? And that was really it. A little bit of whole grain, honey in there, some sourdough, some long fermentation. I wanted that crispy undercarriage, slightly puffed edge crust, all of those sort of hallmarks. I wanted them in one dough. I got everything in. All the flour isn't incorporated yet, but I'm just gonna hand mix to combine until I feel like all of the flour is picked up. And if you need to go back in with your flexible scraper, go back in. And clean up your bowl at this point. Don't leave a bunch of flour that's just going to dry on the edges of the bowl and then end up being discarded, right? Don't waste anything here. Get it all into the bowl. Get it all sort of combined into the dough. If you need, or if it's easier, or you chose a bowl that's maybe a little bit too small, no big deal. You can put it out on the counter. You shouldn't need to add any flour to that. You can just put it on the counter and just knead it for a second just to confirm. We're not really trying to develop any strength here. I'm just making sure that all of those ingredients are homogeneous. Take a second here, get that cleaned up. It's not a pretty dough at this point. It's not smoothed out. It looks kind of lumpy. Sometimes I'll call that like the cottage cheese phase. It's got that sort of like lumpy, bumpy sort of aspect to it. It's okay. I'm gonna put it back in the bowl. I'm gonna get a cover on it. We'll be back in 1 hour or so, and we'll take it to the next step. All right, it's been about an hour. The truth here is that I may, in those instances where it's like, let the dough relax for an hour and then come back and divide it, I might set my heart timer. It's okay to use your heart timer in some of these cases. So when I come back to this dough, there's not a lot happening, at least in terms of what we see, right? I'm not gonna see a dough which is measurably risen in any way. But inside the dough, what's happening is that gluten is forming simply through the addition of water. I think that if I wanted to, I could probably even pull a window pane off this dough. It has great strength that it has developed merely through two things. One, good flour, and two, time. So now what I'm going to do is divide this in 2 equal pieces, and it's around 350 grams. So now what I'm going to do is round these tightly into balls. And I'm going to be very firm here. Remember that this dough is going to sit at room temperature for 8 to 10 hours, right? It's got a long time to relax, and then you can put it into the refrigerator for up to several days. This is like my last chance to sort of add some strength to this dough. And so I'm pretty rough with it. I'm giving it a nice tight form. I'm basically rounding these about as tightly as I can. Why that long period of relaxation? Well, a lot of times, or one of the common sort of challenges that home bakers sort of come into contact with is when they're going to stretch their pizza dough, they're like, oh, it fights me, it snaps back, it does all of these things. Well, partly that's because you don't have a method that necessarily supports easy stretching, right? So we want to give this strong initial mix or rounding, right? I have a very tight ball there, and then I'm going to give it a lot of time to relax over the course of several days. In that time, not only is it developing flavor, it's also relaxing so that when we come back to stretch it, it shouldn't give us that many problems. Okay, so I've got some containers here. I'm going to put a little bit of oil in them. Now these are, 5 inches or so. This is a good size. The reason for that is that when I come back and we go to shape these doughs, they need to be big. They need to be like 13 inches in diameter, and I've found that a wider vessel makes that easier as opposed to a smaller, more sort of constrained vessel, if that makes sense. So a little bit of olive oil in each container, just a little bit. If you have pan spray and you want to use that, go for it. Just something to sort of get it out of the container in a way that keeps you from tearing or deforming the dough. Plop your dough piece in. I give it a little bit of a press, and then I flip it, and then we'll get the lids on there, and we're going to leave them at room temperature, like I said, 8 to 10 hours. We'll be back when they're ready to go to make some pizza. Okay, the moment we've all been waiting for, right? This is the point in the process when we can finally get excited about what we're going to do, right? Pizza can take some time. It's not one of those things you want to start when you're hungry. My advice is always like, start it early in the week, and with a recipe like this that can sit for a few days, literally, start it on a Tuesday morning for Friday night pizza, start it on a Tuesday morning. Make the dough, throw it in the fridge, forget about it, and then come back on Friday, and you'll literally have dinner on the table in the time it takes to preheat your oven, So, I've got my dough. It's definitely happy, it's active, it's filled my container, and it looks like it's ready to shape. Before I do that, let's go through our checklist of the things that are going to make us successful with our pizza night, right? First and foremost, I've got my oven preheated. It's at least 500. I like it even set to 550. If you've got an oven that'll go to 550, try that out and see how you like it. You may find that the early pizzas that you bake are a little bit challenging, right? Maybe the oven's even pushing the heat a little bit. But as you get into your bake and a couple pies later, you may find that the stone is really in a good place. The other thing you want to have in place are your toppings. Get everything meased out. So get yourself prepared for pizza, because once I start stretching this dough, the clock is ticking, right? It can't sit on the peel. It can't sit on my counter for a long time. I want to get it into the oven. So let's shape this pizza. A little bit of flour on the counter. You can put some on the top of your dough if you want. And I'm going to gently encourage it out of the vessel. And boy, it looks pretty. I see lots of fermentation bubbles on top, very, very small, beautiful fermentation bubbles. That tells me that the dough was active. I can also tell just by sort of pressing it that it has good air, it's pumped up, it's ready to go. Maybe a little bit of flour on top, and then I'll often invert it to start. In the book, we talk a lot about shaping. We've even got QR codes and other things that'll support you in your sort of like pizza stretching journey. I'll give you a few tips. First thing is press. And if the dough has relaxed well over the course of a few days, the pressing you're going to find will get you most of the way there, like I said. So as I press, I'm avoiding the edge. Remember, I want a little bit of puff, and I'm just pressing with my fingertips. I'm not playing it like the piano, right? I'm using the pads of my fingers, nice and flat, working my way around. And once I feel like I'm most of the way there with my pressing, then I can pick it up and begin to pull just a little bit. When I pick it up, I've got my thumb inside that edge that I'm maintaining, right? I want to keep that sort of integrity of that small amount of edge crust in place, right? And I'm going to give some gentle tugs, east-west, working my way around the dough. Again, I'm not holding on the edge, I'm holding just inside the edge. And as I stretch the pizza, I'm really working around the outside in that sort of outer quarter of the dough piece. I don't really ever touch the middle of this. If you touch the middle, you'll often find that you'll get some thin spots. Alternatively, I can pick it up and knuckle it just a little bit. What I mean by that is I'm sort of draping it over my knuckles and I'm letting gravity do the work, and I'm slowly moving the dough, just working my way around. And once I'm close, for this pizza, I recommend about 13 inches. So I've got my peel at hand. I've got some semolina here. If you're new to the pizza game, or if you consistently find yourself with doughs which stick to the peel, this might be a good place to grab yourself a piece of high temp parchment paper, good high quality parchment paper. You can put that down, sprinkle some semolina on top, then you put your dough on. After you load, you wait about 60 seconds, 90 seconds or so. You can go in there with a pair of tongs and just pull that piece of parchment before it gets too hot. And then the pizza will proceed with its baking. It's a great tip and a little bit of insurance. You know, as you get your sort of pizza practice down, you'll be able to get away with less and less semolina. Sometimes people find that they've got some issues with semolina burning on their stone or steel. It can be a problem. So for this, I'm gonna do a little bit of like a corn and chili with a little bit of sour cream, a little bit of low moisture mozzarella, a little bit of sweet corn. You know, sweet corn is one of those vegetables. You can get it in the frozen section, and it's quite good. So some jalapeno, why not? Got a little bit of just a good canned chili. If you've got some salsa verde, or if you have another salsa that you like, you could add that. This is gonna bring just a little bit of piquancy to it. So if you've seen our pizza pop-up video, this is sort of basically that pizza, which I love. I love, love, love. Be sure to check that out. So briefly, let me tell you how I have my oven set up. I've got my stainless steel in the lower third of the oven. It's ripping hot. And then I have a second rack in the upper third of the oven that doesn't have anything on it. For the first portion of bake, 5 to 7 minutes or so, I'm gonna bake on the stainless steel, and then I'm gonna pop it up onto the empty rack, and I'm gonna switch to broil and just give it the color that I want for this pizza. So When you get your pizza out of the oven, have yourself a cooling rack set up. Don't just put it straight onto your cutting board. And the reason for that is that in those initial seconds when it comes out of the oven, it's still getting rid of some moisture. And so for me, we've worked pretty hard to have this beautifully thin and crisp crust. Let's hold on to it for at least a minute or so and put it on a cooling rack so that it will continue to hold on to that. You don't have to garnish this, but I've said it before, I like garnishing. So I'm gonna put a little bit of beautiful cilantro leaves, a little bit of tahini. So it's like a lime salt. And then if you want a little bit extra hot sauce, you can go for it. I'm a spicy guy. I like to have a little spice. So just a little bit. Man, it looks beautiful. Beautifully puffed edge crust, dark in spots. I want that sort of kiss of the oven. That's why we switch it to broil for the last phase of baking. Let's look and see what we got underneath. Beautifully charred crust, black in spots. Looks really nice. So let's cut a slice. So one of the things that I like to do, I mean, you can cut it into 6 slices or 8 slices. You eat it how people want at your house. I like to make a single oversized slice because I feel like I'm walking out of a beautiful slice shop in New York City with this huge, huge slice. Spicy. That's our beautiful new American dough from the Book of Pizza, a brand new resource from the King Arthur Baking Company. It's myself and David Tamarkin, along with the team. We always do everything here collaboratively, so every book has a piece of everybody in it. We're excited to share this new resource and all that it offers. Recipe is right down there below in the description. This is Martin and Lydia and Tucker behind the camera today saying thanks for joining us. Get out there and throw your own pizza party.